Hello everyone and welcome back to the Protestant Education Channel. Today we are back to the Protestant Theologian series, and today we are talking about Richard Hooker, one of the more well-known Anglican divines, a key Anglican divine, I would say. His major thing was the defense of reason to help form our theology. Now, if I said Richard Hooker is basically the John Calvin or John Wesley of Anglicanism, I'm technically wrong in one sense, but technically wrong in another. So Richard Hooker, pops up at an interesting time in Anglican history. So, quote-unquote, Anglicanism, as we think of it today, didn't really exist way back in Richard Hooker's day. In this time, the Church of England was sort of in between. So the Protestant Reformation happens, and England can't really decide if it's Protestant or England. Henry originally separates from Rome, then Edward goes more Protestant, married Tudor goes back more Catholic, and then Elizabeth comes in and tries to unite everybody and make it what Anglicanism calls a via media between the two. So that's just a little bit of Anglican history, Church of England history, and kind of where Richard Hooker is in all of this. So like I said, Richard Hooker is very famous for reason. That's a very big thing that's associated with him. And I don't want to say that and sound like post-Protestant Reformation is the only time ever when reason was a part of theology. No. Early Christians had adopted Aristotelian philosophy as well as other Greek philosophies. There's been arguments about this going way back to the apostles of other philosophy alongside theology. But Hooker, his specific thing is reason. So in England, there was a group called the Pietists. So you have the Catholics not the Pietists, the Puritans, sorry. Pietists, different group. So the Puritans and the Catholics are kind of at odds in England. The Puritans think that, well, we should only do something if it's allowed, if it's explicitly prescribed in Scripture. Whereas the Catholics obviously don't think that, and believe that there's a lot of Anglican stuff that's fine. So the Puritans don't really care for the Book of Common Prayer. They don't really care for some of these more higher liturgical things that are a bigger deal in Catholicism. What's interesting about Hooker is he seems more in line with a lot of the reformers than a lot of other Anglican theologians. Sorry. But where Hooker kind of differs from them is in his ideas of how the church should function. So, like I said, there was this kind of divide on how people saw church practices. Hooker kind of pushed back against the more Protestant view in England being the Puritan view. And he didn't think that, he wasn't saying that because, he was super pro-Catholicism and he wanted everyone to be Catholic, but he thought the Puritans were being too restrictive. And that's kind of Hooker's whole thing. Hooker says that Scripture is supreme, but it's not the only thing that you can use when organizing the church. And so he kind of creates the three-legged stool phrase people use today. Now, he didn't phrase it that way, but he created the underlying philosophy. He laid the philosophy down for it. And Sorry. Allergies are really getting to me today, guys. I'm kind of struggling to read through this. But he defended that reason had a proper role under Scripture alongside church tradition. This was a massive debate, partially from what I was saying earlier with the Puritans, and partially because of the Catholic doctrines about tradition and the role of tradition within Christianity. So the Catholics have their view, and the Puritans have this very well, if the Bible doesn't say it, if the Bible doesn't explicitly prescribe it, we don't need to do it, and not only do we not need to do it, we shouldn't do it. That's something I think I really need to make clear here, is that at this time, it's not like me talking to my Baptist father and being like, well, this is what I think, and him saying, well, that's cool, but I think we should. No. This is how it has to be, period, ! No questions asked, on the Catholic side. And on the Puritan side, also having this, nope, this is how it has to be, 100%, no questions asked. Yeah. I just feel like that's something important that I've glossed over and haven't really explicitly made clear yet. So, like I said, Anglicanism kind of starts needing to position itself as this via media. And Hooker didn't necessarily found Anglicanism, but he helps explain why it had to continue existing as something distinct. And all of this influence that Richard Hooker had is sort of where the weight of that name comes from. Richard Hooker, in my opinion, based on my research, wasn't as much of a influential teaching theologian as people like Whitefield or Wesley or Calvin or Knox or a lot of these other big name theologians, and especially when we talk about Protestantism. But what Hooker did do, I would say, is really paved a lot of the philosophical framework and philosophical groundwork for Anglicanism that would later be expanded upon by many other Anglican theologians. So I guess that's really all I have about Richard Hooker today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave this video a like. If you didn't like it, click the dislike button twice. Subscribe for more and leave a comment. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. God bless you and your families, and I will see you in the next video. I'll read them, and I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to say to that. But I try to at least, give it a like or a heart or something to, acknowledge that I saw it. That being said, I don't check it every day, so don't get all mad if I don't read your comment.